back to Love Your Food. This week we are doing a nice, simple, and quick recipe for you. This is your own homemade oat milk. Now, we know this has been sort of in the news recently. There's been a lot of interest in making oat milk at home because some of the companies involved in the production have had some issues, but it's actually super simple, and we're going to show you really quickly how to do it. So we're starting off with some rolled oats, just regular rolled oats. We're going to use a date, some water, a small amount of a very neutral oil. We're using avocado oil. And you're going to need, there is some specialized equipment. You do need these nutmilk bags. We're using 2. We're just going to stack them together. You just want to get all the particulate out of your milk. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to open up our date. We want to take the pit out. And this is just for a little bit of sweetness. Dairy does tend to have quite a lot of sweetness in it. Now the oat milk on itself, this is a very, very basic recipe with not a lot of additional flavor, but you do need just a little bit of sweetness in there. So we're just going to take that date, break it up a little bit. We're going to pop our oats in there, a little tiny sprinkle of salt, and our water. And all of the amounts are going to be in the description below. The last thing we're going to add into this is our oil. Now, you want to use a very neutral oil and not something super savory. So I wouldn't recommend something like olive oil because it will flavor your final product. We're using avocado oil, which is extremely neutral. A nut oil would be fine for this. So walnut, even peanut would be fine. Almond oil, if you can find something like that, is great. I would stay away from things like olive oil. Canola would be okay, but just keep in mind you will have some flavor from the canola oil in there. And then we're just going to pop our burr mixer in there and blitz this up. Now, it is recommended that you do this in a very high-powered blender, so like a Blendtec or a Vitamix would be useful for this. We're using a Bamix stick blender, which is honestly quite powerful on its own. So we're just going to blend that until everything's well broken up and quite fine. Now, there are some recipes that say you should soak this before. Some of them say you should soak it and rinse it and then add new water. We are just going straight ahead with what we've got here. Now, we've got our nut milk bags here. These are just a very fine mesh. And we're just going to pour our mix in there. So this is to get all of the solids out of there. So all of those blitzed up oats and the little bits of date are going to be taken out of there. Now, don't throw this away with what's left inside the bag. You can still use that. We used it in our breakfast jars, which you've seen us do those before. And you do want to give this a bit of a squeeze. Don't worry about too much particulate coming out because those we used both of the bags together. We just sort of nested them inside each other to get as much of the particulate out as we could. So all of the pieces, those are going to get caught in those bags. And don't be afraid to give it a really good squeeze. Now, we also used a canning funnel for this because it can get a little bit messy. And that's all the prep that's really required for this. As you can see here, we got most of our water back in the process. Despite how much solid matter we had in there. So this is a mostly full jar. We're just going to pop the lid on that, and it should probably sit in the fridge for a couple of hours before you use it, just to let everything sort of settle. You want to make sure that it's all good. Now, this can live in a fridge for up to a week, I would say. And if it starts to settle, don't worry. That's very normal. Of course, we're not adding any stabilizers or emulsifiers or anything to this, so it will settle. So give it a good shake. Make sure you're using a jar with a completely sound and leak-proof lid, because you're going to want to give it a good shake before you use it. And here we're just adding some to a glass, and then topping that off with some of our cold brew coffee. Now, you might want to use a little bit more than you typically would if you were using regular milk or cream. It's a very neutral flavor, but you can spice this up however you like. You can add spices, you can add other flavors, you can sweeten it with a little bit of maple syrup, anything like that. Lots of opportunity for this, and really, really super simple. So if you like this recipe, please do like and subscribe. And if you have any recipes you'd like to see Chef Caleb try on the channel, please let us know in the comments below. And remember to love your food.